Why classic car dealers and self-promoters have ruined the collector car industry, Part 2. So towards the end of our last video, we talked about self-promoters. And although I do have some kind of a reputation in the industry with Classic Mercedes, I would not consider myself a self-promoter. I make these YouTube videos with Thomas to inform people who have these cars of what their strong suits are and what makes them as good as they could possibly be. But I'm not here to promote myself or my brand per se. When people approach me and they need my help, I help them to the best of my ability. And that's really it. But we're going to talk a little bit more about self-promoters. And so some people feel that their cars or whatever are part of their image, and that's good. I mean, I used to show off a little bit too when I was in my 20s. If you had a 280 SE 4.5, wouldn't you show off a little bit as well? You know, maybe throw some attractive professional young ladies in their 20s in the mix, and see if they'll talk to you because they think your car is interesting. Usually doesn't work, by the way. In case you're wondering, Classic Mercedes are a car for the intellectual, not a car for the extrovert. And we see this, but we still see this sort of thing where people try to use them to sort of promote their image. And so this is what I have learned about these types of people. Number one, they're not actually interested in doing the car a favor by making it run, operate, and perform like it's supposed to. They have sort of a parasitic relationship with the car where they want the car to complement their image, and they try to make the car look nice until they're done with it. They can make a buck and they can get something else. And oftentimes these are the same people that check their Instagrams while you're trying to have a conversation with them, looking for just a few more likes, although they'll never even admit it to themselves that that's what they're chasing. This kind of narcissism and self-promotion ties into why a lot of people, I think, start classic car-oriented businesses, because they want to make a name for themselves in a sector that is blowing up and popular. Right now, the classic car sector is blowing up, and it is very popular. And, just sort of a word of advice to these kinds of entrepreneurs, if you want to call them that, who are getting into the classic car industry. If you're really an entrepreneur, you'll quit your job and you'll actually put full time, full steam, and full effort into your work. And I had to do that when I was in my early 20s, and I was poor, and I'm still not really that wealthy, but I like what I do. And, if you want to have a business of any kind to make it work, you have to put 100% effort into it. It's very difficult to maintain. I only know a few people that can start a new business and maintain a day job. Because customer satisfaction, when you're not giving your customers 100% full attention, is going to be detrimental to your brand. And a lot of people have great ideas, but they don't put full weight behind them. And instead, their businesses do not provide useful services. They look like they could provide a useful service, but instead they end up being a mix of self-promotion, self-glorification, an interesting concept that never gets fully developed or flushed out, and finally maybe growing too big too fast because of Instagram exposure, but ultimately failing because of lack of customer service. And when I see this sort of thing, there's a lot of this in the classic car industry. There were a lot of companies that advertised 3 or 4 years ago in sports car market, when the classic car market was at its zenith, that are no longer with us because they were not staffed by fully dedicated entrepreneurs, or they try to enter the market at a price point that's too high. And while we're here, let me tell you a little secret about entrepreneurialism. In order to succeed, you have to enter the market at a low price point until you prove that you're good. And you can't do that overnight. It does take time. There's no such thing as overnight success in the classic car industry. It is a pain in the butt. It's a lot of hard work. And, what can I say? Here we are. Now, one of the things that I would probably caution those of you about who want to get into the classic car industry, if you want to be a dealer, that's fine. If you want to do a good job, that's fine. If you want to be a specialist at a certain type of car and sell a certain type of car, that's fine. But you can't do it without any mechanical knowledge of the car. Otherwise, you're just a poseur. If you, instead of a connoisseur, you're a poseur. If you try to attempt to be a dealer or a flipper or a consultant or a classic car historian, and you don't actually have hands-on, intimate, get dirty, diagnose and repair knowledge about the car. Now people might ask me, Pierre, how do you get that kind of knowledge? Oh, well, you just spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours around the car that you're interested in, learning about all of its faults and flushing out all of its problems until those problems are no longer a headache for you to resolve. That's all. It just takes a lot of hard work and dedication and a lot of wasted time. Maybe it's not wasted time, but some of it could be considered wasted time. You know, so the point is that a lot of people aren't willing to put in the right kind of hard work. You know, instead what they'll do is they'll take their trust fund, spend it on advertising in a few magazines, you know, post the crap out of Instagram, trying to get a bunch of followers and Twitter and stuff like that, and act like they're providing a useful service. Useful services are not glamorous. Useful services like collecting trash or fixing the roads or repairing big trucks are not glamorous. And this kind of work, although it looks pretty glamorous, there are days when it is not fun. I remember I was here late Wednesday night. A friend of mine was taking his car up to Amelia Island. I was adjusting his starting solenoid on his 300 SEL 6.3. Where is the starting solenoid located? On the back of the injection pump, towards the back of the motor, in between both cylinders, by coolant pipes and fuel pipes and a hot intake. And that's how you get a recipe for burning your hand. But I had to get the solenoid off, had to be adjusted. Happens all the time. My hands do not burn as easily as they used to, just because of this. So now that we have discussed these kinds of things, we're going to talk about what the classic car industry needs in our next video so that we could focus on the solution and not just the problem. In the meantime, please like, share, and subscribe. Tap the bell for notifications. And leave your comments below about dealing with some of these types of people. And we'll catch you next time. And enjoy learning more about these cars from first-hand experience instead of reading internet forums or looking at Instagram posts of slammed and bagged 115s and saying, maybe I want that, maybe I don't. Okay, see you guys later.